Imagine being a rookie driver in NASCAR, not just any rookie, but someone who walked into the sport and won on his very first Cup Series start. Imagine having 5 wins in your debut full-time season, winning Rookie of the Year, and suddenly becoming one of the most talked about names in the entire garage. And then imagine Rick Hendrick, the most powerful team owner in NASCAR history, the man behind 7 championships and legends like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking your way. Most drivers would drop everything. Most drivers would sprint to that opportunity. So why didn't Shane van Gisbergen? Why did this New Zealander, this outsider who came from the other side of the world with 0 oval experience, look at one of the greatest organizations in motorsport history and essentially say, "No, I'm good where I am"? That is the story we are diving into today. And trust me, by the end of this video, you are going to see SVG in a completely different light. And if you want to stay on top of the biggest NASCAR stories, driver moves, and motorsport updates before anyone else, hit that subscribe button right now, because we cover it all right here, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. So let's go back to where this whole journey started, because you cannot understand why SVG made the choice he made without understanding how he even got here in the first place. Van Gisbergen's interest in NASCAR was genuinely sparked back in 2022 when he watched Formula One world champion Kimi Räikkönen drive for Trackhouse Racing's Project 91 program, a bold initiative designed to give international motorsport stars a shot at NASCAR. SVG saw that, and something clicked. He did not reach out to Hendrick. He did not call Joe Gibbs Racing. He reached out through friends to Trackhouse owner Justin Marks about pursuing a NASCAR ride. That detail matters more than people realize. This was not a situation where every big team came knocking and SVG picked the best offer. He went to Trackhouse. He chose them first. ESPN, and then came Chicago, July 2023. A rainy street circuit race that most people expected to be chaotic and forgettable. Instead, Shane van Gisbergen turned it into one of the greatest debut performances in the history of American motorsport. He became the first driver to win on his NASCAR Cup Series debut since Johnny Rutherford achieved it back in 1963. 1 race, no oval experience, no Cup Series preparation, just pure instinct, skill, and a burning desire to prove himself on a completely foreign stage. The NASCAR world lost its mind. Suddenly, every team was paying attention to this guy from New Zealand. Sportskeeda. Now here is where things get really interesting, and this is the part most fans miss entirely. After Chicago, SVG had expressed frustration with the politics of Australian supercars and admitted he was thinking seriously about other classes of racing. He was done with feeling like the sport back home had become stale. He wanted a new mountain to climb. And the offers, the interest, the conversations, they all started flowing in. But SVG did not chase the biggest name or the biggest check. He made clear that he was thankful to Justin Marks and everyone at Trackhouse Racing for taking a chance on him and giving him this opportunity, and he committed to building something with them from the ground up. CBS Sports Sportskeeda. Think about what that means from a strategic standpoint. Hendrick Motorsports is the gold standard in NASCAR. 4 cars, the best resources, the deepest pockets, a legacy that nobody can match. If SVG had walked through those doors, He would have had every tool imaginable at his disposal, but he also would have walked into an environment with enormous pressure, massive expectations, and a very specific identity. These are teams built around established systems, championship cultures, and reputations that have been built over decades. There is very little room to be a work in progress. There is very little patience for a driver still learning how to handle a stock car on an oval. And that is exactly the point. Trackhouse owner Justin Marks openly acknowledged there were unknowns with SVG, that it could be a lot of hard work, but that SVG checked a lot of boxes for a really compelling story and for building great business in the sport. That kind of honest, patient language from a team owner is incredibly rare. Marks was not promising SVG a championship in year one. He was promising him a home, a process, and genuine belief. That is a completely different kind of offer, and SVG was smart enough to recognize it. NBC Sports. SVG has been dominant on road courses but was still developing on ovals, with his best oval finish being a 12th place at Martinsville. At Hendrick, that gap in performance would have been scrutinized under a microscope every single week. At Trackhouse, it was part of the plan, and the results speak for themselves. SVG scored 5 Cup victories and won the Sunoco Rookie of the Year award in 2025, 5 wins, in his first full Cup Series season. That is not a fluke. That is a driver who was given the right environment to grow and who delivered when it mattered most. The racing experts, NASCAR. Then in August 2025, the news broke that silenced all the speculation once and for all. Trackhouse Racing and SVG agreed to a multi-year contract extension, keeping him with the team for the foreseeable future. No Hendrick, no dramatic switch, no chasing the prestige or the legacy, just a driver and a team that believed in each other before the world did, doubling down on that bet together. The racing experts. And there is something poetic about the number he drives too. The number 88 carries legendary status in NASCAR history. It is the very number Dale Earnhardt Jr. made iconic during his time at Hendrick Motorsports. SVG is not just driving a car number. He is carrying a piece of Hendrick history at a completely different team, which in a way tells you everything about this story. He did not need to join Hendrick to be touched by that legacy. He brought a piece of it with him. Essentially, sports. Here is what people get wrong about elite athletes and career decisions. Everyone assumes it is always about money and prestige. Everyone assumes the smartest move is to go to the most famous team, sit next to the most famous names, and hope some of that shine rubs off. But the drivers who truly build legendary careers, the ones who write their own chapter instead of just adding a footnote to someone else's, those are the drivers who understand that the right opportunity is not always the biggest one. It is the one where you are genuinely valued, genuinely trusted, and genuinely free to become who you are supposed to be. SVG has now won 7 NASCAR Cup Series races, including victories at iconic venues like Watkins Glen and the inaugural Cup race at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. He has done this without the Hendrick shield on his car. He has done this as an outsider who knocked on a smaller door and turned it into the biggest stage of his life, NASCAR. So the next time someone asks why Shane Van Gisbergen said no to the most powerful team in NASCAR, The answer is actually pretty simple. He did not say no to Hendrick Motorsports because he was not good enough for them. He said no because he already had something better. A team that believed in him before he proved anything. A family built on trust instead of legacy.